call this June 5th, 2020, June 4th, 2025 session to order. Is that all right?
Thanks, sir. Good morning. Good to see everybody. Just an update on construction. Also have John Ross here to help. He'll help me and he'll fill in some gaps and share some other information. Macy, continue to move along. They had the crane there set up Monday, and they have removed 11 rooftop units from the roof, and they have pushed 2 new units up on the roof as of yesterday. And they'll continue to do that today, and this weather's been good for them, so that they can keep moving along, keep moving forward. They're working on the boiler piping and that sort of thing in there, so they're moving along. Giles and Maris High School, crews came in and went full bore Monday. If you go by Giles High School, you will see now that the whole parking lot is full at Giles High School of the roofing material. That's 17 truckloads yesterday, 12 more are coming today. Based on the information we've got. Ceilings have been demoed in Giles High School throughout the building. So it looks like a construction zone. They're gonna start working on the front entrance there and take care of that and start getting that going. Gym floor is done. Last coat was put on the floor yesterday morning. So I think it's 3 weeks before they can get on that. Truthfully, to be able to get on the gym floor and do anything.
That's just at Giles, right?
Giles High School. Eastern had a coat put on it yesterday, coat of seal put on yesterday. Maris High School, I don't think it started yet. Maris Elementary, they started cutting out the floor that was damaged in that over there by the bleachers. Got down to the subfloor. They got to do a little bit of work on the subfloor underneath there, but they're starting to at least replace the flooring there. Maris High School, as I said, they started that as well. Demoed ceilings throughout the building as well. They're starting to work on the front entrance and the elevator. That's what they're going to focus on, trying to get that taken care of. So we're going to see a lot of work on the front. And if you go around back in front of AEP, you'll see between AEP and the building, you'll see that's where they're putting the elevator shaft, and they're going to start digging that, put footers and that sort of stuff there. So they're moving along there. Eastern as well. They slopes there, started demoing yesterday in the main office area. Took out windows in the front of the office. So that's their focus. They're going to focus on getting the office moved and that classroom moved for the beginning of school year. So, and the gym floor, as I mentioned, has been sealed there at Eastern. What else do you want to talk?
Just time vote the modification request. And before we get into that, so bathrooms, I know there are concerns about staff toilets at both Giles and Maris were to be removed for elevator installation. Revised drawings have been sent; those are going to be left and worked out. You had enough of the corridor there that you could leave the bathroom and still put it in. So I think the reason that they were to be removed is so you did create a kind of a secluded hangout area, but I think we can deal with that through policing and other cameras and other things to kind of keep that to a minimum. It makes sense. Never makes sense to take out a bathroom if you don't have to, in my opinion. So those are taken care of.
Does that change? How does that change monies? Like having the redrawings that it didn't change significantly?
I don't think it'll change anything,
okay.
Ms. Price. I think that if there were to be anything, it'd be a slight credit for not doing the demo, but I think that's going to be a wash when we get into this modification. I'm going to take these out since we get so late. So at Giles and Maris High School, we're adding small additions to facilitate the safe entrance, and then the small addition to the office area to allow for that to take place, so transaction window, those kind of things. So our buildings, both Giles and Maris High School, were built in 1962, give or take. And I'll get you my copy later. Okay. And so fire areas, sprinkler area, those kind of things, those are non-compliant with today's code. That's just how it is. That doesn't mean they're unsafe. That just means if you build them today, you build them in a different fashion. So with these additions, there's a requirement in the building, the existing building code, that you either A, establish a 2-hour fire rating between the addition and the old part of the building, or you sprinkle the building. But in this case, there's a process in code called code modification of the building official. I can grant that to allow for that not to take place. And here's my logic on why I think that would be acceptable in this instance. So you've got a building, both these buildings are type 2B construction, which means they're non-combustible structure. The only fuel load in the building are its contents. So it's concrete and steel and those kind of things. You're gaining additional exits by the addition of the elevator room. You get an exit out that way. You get another exit out of the office. So you're making that better. You're also gaining secure entrance that you don't have today, which makes it, in my opinion, a net safer condition. With that said, we talked through this with the architect. They have to apply for a code modification to me as your agent, and you guys have to authorize them to do that. So that's the reason I'm discussing that this morning, is making sure everybody's comfortable with that strategy. This is kind of a different situation because I'm also a building official, and now the facilities director or whatever my title is, but that's why I'm here this morning, this kind of talk through that. To put a 2-hour fire separation here, if you look at so NHS's top page, the highlighted line is the existing building wall now. Everything towards the bottom of the page is an addition. So you can see that's roughly a 20 by 20 office addition. And then let's call it 23 by 10 is the vestibule. It makes, in my opinion, it makes no sense to establish a fire rating there, again, because of type of construction, how minor in nature this is. And I don't think that, from an egress standpoint, you can't use a fire curtain because you can't block off those doors you've been with a fire. And I just think if there were a fire in the building, those doors would be swinging open and people come out of them anyway. So I think this is a case, just to put it bluntly, where the code has not kept up with reality. I think a lot of these have probably gone in other places that this wasn't even talked about. But that's what I think. I think you'll see future code changes in the next couple cycles to address this and make revisions to allow for this type of thing without the process of talking about it now. Second page is Giles. You can see it's a little different configuration, but you've got approximately, let's call it 12 feet by 50, I believe there. That includes the vestibule, and then the rest of that's ramped out there. So same thing there. As a building official, I can tell you this, in my opinion, this makes the buildings safer, a net safer circumstance. So just with, if everybody's okay with that, you guys, let Dr. Overgas, let Randy from CMM know that he's good to apply for the modification, and we'll go from there. Any concerns or questions with that? Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. Let's see, other things, we met at Eastern, what was that? I guess, was that last Thursday or Friday? I can't remember. Last Thursday. Met with Schwope last Thursday. That was our kickoff. It was kind of delayed. We were kind of concerned that they hadn't been in touch. But they seemed to have a good game plan. They got mobilized and started. So feel better about that.
Like, who is that?
Schwope Construction.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I don't know their names off the top of my head, so I appreciate
No
that.
problem. Thank you.
K&A's jobs,
Mm-hmm,
RL Price and theirs and theirs,
yes,
and Mason, Swope Seat.
okay.
So a couple things over there, or one thing in particular. There's an existing line in the demo of the building to go in and take out all of the existing HVAC piping. And I have asked, and just to know what the number is, if we left that in place, just drain it, abandon that in place, what kind of credit will we get back on the construction? We've got a ton of room above those ceilings. I was in there the other day on another matter, kind of looked around. If that doesn't cause any kind of problems, any kind of interference with new ductwork or new piping, and the credit is substantial enough, I would certainly recommend we do that. I don't think it's gonna hurt us to leave that there. It's relatively minor, like I said, all ceiling space. So when I get that number, I'll get back to you on that. We can make it, but that's a lot of work we're not gonna have to do. I'm trying to negotiate to see how much it's worth to them to not have to tear it out.
As long as they drain it good, that's the only thing they had to do something. With that pink stuff that's been draining from, that's just
That's what Jason checked us out with, that's the chemical in the truck, but they have to drain that and cap the line, which is what I would fine with that. So, well, let's see what the number is, they come back, you know, it's not worth it, then we'll tell them to get back. But, if we can leave it at substantial, that'd be my recommendation. Did you want to talk about or have you covered the refrigerant shortages and how that's going to impact?
No, not shared that, no.
Okay, so lucky us, refrigerant changed kind of in the design phase of this process. So you go from 410A, which was kind of the standard for all this type of equipment for 10 years, 10, 12 years. They've switched to a propane methane based refrigerant, which is 454B. Well, everybody in the world is trying to get 454B to put in their projects now, and there's a shortage. Southern Air has, I think they have that resolved. I don't want to say that with any degree of certainty, but I think that's resolved. But I just want to make you guys aware that could cause some delays and problems along those lines. I'll keep you apprised as I know more about that. Did you want to discuss the gym jobs and timing and potential impact?
You can.
Yeah, so.
John, for you, all of our new, units will have new refrigerator, right?
No.
So,
I was talking to Todd this morning on the maintenance crew about that. I was on the roof at Macy the other day. We've got, some of the rooftops are 410A, and then the chillers, I know for sure, are gonna be 454B. So I was talking with the maintenance guys this morning about coming up with a big pink label or something to put on the units that are 410A, so we don't put the wrong stuff in those units. That's gonna have to be something we watch them for. That's a good question.
how many years are we gonna get using the old before they have to switch over, you know?
I don't know how long they're gonna make 410A. We'll certainly stockpile some, so we have that. But I don't know the answer.
Because they change it every 5, 10 years.
Yeah, they do. You know, it's been through R12, R22, 410A, 134. Just, at some point, we gotta settle in on something that works and leave it, but they haven't gotten there yet.
Sorry, Henry.
I know you're fine. So, Dr. Arbogast touched on the gym floor at Giles High School. They just, I think the last coat finished on yesterday, is my understanding. Different than what I believe was initially relayed, the floor people are now saying, we're looking at 2 weeks minimum, 3 weeks preferable before we can get on the gym floors to do any work. So obviously, that really blows the schedule of K&A. So K&A, the contractor in Giles, are going back to plug that into their scheduling software to see how that's going to impact their schedule, what that looks like. Can they get done by fall sports? And then when I know about that, we'll have to have another conversation. The logical thing to me at this point is if it doesn't tremendously affect the project, is just wait and leave what we've got in place until we can mobilize maybe over a long Christmas break if there's nothing planned there, or if that doesn't work the following summer. I don't know spring sports schedule in the gym, that's I'm ignorant of that, if that could be something we can close the gym off after fall sports or winter sports. Not ideal, but
Yeah.
to be done.
Baseball and softball do practice inside the gym.
Yeah, and I don't know what that looks like from a negotiating standpoint with K&A, we'll just have to.
And we're talking about specifically the issue is because we've already gotten bleachers out, right, or no?
What they're talking about is they got duct work and units up in the ceiling they gotta do work on, so they can't cover the floor.
Right, for 3 weeks.
3 weeks at best, because if you start putting that stuff on there and leave it there, it's gonna condensate, and which is gonna cause other problems.
Yeah, the finish is still off, yes.
And there was a reason we did the floors first. I remember this discussion.
The previous contractor screwed up and put too much lacquer down or something.
The floor was peeling, looked like
Yeah, I knew it was-
sunburnt and that sort of
yes.
stuff peeling, and we could have asked the company to screen it and just put another coat on it, but I don't think that would have solved the problem, and then you would have a floor that maybe wasn't playable come fall and then into the winter, and then what are you gonna do?
Right.
So we felt the best course of action was to get it done now. The
Yes.
contract is new, they have to protect it. They'll do a walkthrough, once we can walk on it, they'll do a walkthrough K&A with John and whoever else, to document, film the whole floor to show, here's the condition of the floor before you all even get in there.
Mhm.
So if anything happens, then
It's all covered.
Trying to get a rental car. Take
Yes.
a bunch of pictures. Right?
Yeah, I take pictures of everything.
But, yeah, I think the bleachers are scheduled July 21st.
July 21st, when there's,
So I think they could get those in. I think the ideal situation at this point, if it doesn't mess the whole works up, is get the bleachers in, leave the existing HVAC alone, provided that works. I can't guarantee that, but if that works, we wait until we've got a better break to get in there, do the heavy demo and go from there. I'll keep, as I know more, I'll let you know more on that too. That's all I got.
Tech Center Roofing, haven't heard,
Yeah, we had
haven't had a kickoff meeting yet there on them, but they're supposed to be mobilizing and getting that taken care of, that's supposed to occur this summer.
same thing with the garage.
And the same thing with the garage. So,
Maybe we quote on our modulars.
Worked on, yeah, I've spoken with, the gentleman, and I don't have a quote from him, I apologize. Dr. Brown was talking with Tim, I'm not gonna try his last name, I'll butcher it, so we'll just go with Tim for right now. Have not gotten a quote from him. I did get a quote from Will Scott for a 66 by 28, I believe. And that came from, that size came from Dr. Brown, and I had a conversation with Ms. Morris about the number of students. She's indicated 18 per classroom, so using 45 square foot per child, that's kind of how we got into the larger unit. This quote is for, and I'm gonna round up to what's called $260,000. That does not include the engineering package, it does not include, foundation, because it's a flood set, all it's gonna be, more expensive, so, you know, just throw a quick budget number at that, I'd say you're looking somewhere around 3 to 310, all in on that, so. Still working, trying to get additional quotes, and then, you know, there'll be some vetting involved there as far as procurement, make sure we can take care of all that with these companies. Once I get a good number, I'll communicate with Dr. August and whoever you guys to try to figure out what's the actual number for moving forward with that, and then get the installers on the engineering package and line up contractors to do foundation work and those kind of things. Still working on that, so I guess the short answer.
Fair enough.
asphalt, I think RFP was supposed to come back yesterday to the county,
It did.
and so I don't know.
I think that they've got a total cost and they're going back, I don't think they broke it out by project necessarily, they broke it out by tons of asphalt, price per ton of asphalt was a breakout. So they're going back, the engineering firm we hired is going back now and trying to quantify what each of the specific projects cost. And then once we have that, if we can't do it all, then we can back into what our priorities are and have more information on that. So I'll let you know, when we know more about that.
Questions on any of the projects?
My kids loved seeing the giant crane at Macy.
So did I.
I mean, we drove by, it was huge, so kids were tickled. And they were up on the roof early this morning working already.
They've been working, went hard at starting on Monday, once everybody was out there, so and we have to thank maintenance and John for getting, and Bobby and the guys getting in there with the teachers and the staff to wrapping stuff up, plastic, I mean, they got stuff covered as best we could cover it to protect it and keep it as dust free as possible, so.
Last Monday, when we were talking about what we had done, I figured we'd working all weekend. Bobby and his crew got in there and so made it happen.
So they did a nice job, so I want to thank them for the work they did.
I just had to stay out of the way. That was, that's what needed to happen. They took care of it. So,
Looks like everybody doing all we can.
yeah, can't worry on those guys enough. I think, I think Bobby went and talked to all the teachers and kind of made them at ease what was going on. Got, just did an awesome job there.
And we have our next meeting for Mason next Tuesday morning, if I recall correctly, so the meetings are scheduled every 2 weeks. So yesterday, so 2 weeks from yesterday for Arizona Metro, Harris High School, Giles High School. And then the next week is Mason.
Awesome.
Anything else, facility wise? That you can think of, that we need to talk about?
I mean, without going into every detail, we've got questions and requests for information and all that on every one of these projects. So I won't bore you with those until they become an issue or something, you need to know about or have questions. But, there's definitely some stuff that's hanging out there that, is typical when you expose ceilings and those kind of things. I think it's awful good stuff.
I think going forward, you know, there needs to be a line of communication with the building administrators, probably from you and Bob, Sheila, just to, and we can talk about it after July 1, but I think, you know, overall, but I do think that the building administrators, we need to make sure that they know, and they need to be, you know, we can do central communications, but there needs to be communications. You know, you saw that yesterday, but high school's put out, the
I saw
buildings were
that,
closed.
yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff, because you're gonna have parents and things about drop off and, you know, where you access the building. You know, just going forward, let's just try to make sure that they're clear on what it is, and then, and again, that's not on you and the county staff to get that out, that's on us and our side to get that out and communicate it effectively.
Work on that.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah, I do think the building admins, we will be able to reduce their anxiety about what's going on if if we can keep them as in the loop without getting too much in the weeds.
Yeah, and if you need to formalize the process, I mean, whatever works for you, you know, if it gets to be where you've got them, you're not being able to get your work done, or it's hindering what you're trying to do, you know, if we need to formalize a schedule of when they're gonna be updated or something, absent of an emergency, just, you know, we'll deal with it. I just wanna make sure that we're thinking about that.
Yeah, to my knowledge, they're all about myself, so if they've got questions or something, they can call me anytime. We've communicated quite much on that, so. They brought up an issue with closing, facilities being shut down. K&A at Giles had a request to be able to close the 3 gates to the entrances on the weekends to keep people from driving in. They got a lot of stuff stored in the parking lot, try to keep traffic down. They're going to utilize locks we have on the 2 gates in the back, and there was another gate over between the shop building and the tech center that's not being used. So they had the 3 locks in the corner for our keys. So any of our staff that need to get in still could, but that would keep the general public from going out and riding around and that kind of thing. So if nobody has an issue with that, I told them to listen. If somebody can't get in, I told them to call me and I get let them in.
The only thing I see is you got those tennis courts. I don't know if anybody's using them, but just get it out of the tennis. I guess, are they gonna close the back, completely close the back at Nair's High School, or is it gonna be like it is now with that staging area?
I don't know the answer to that. I think it's gonna be, when the roofing materials start coming in, that's what takes the real estate. The Connex boxes for the mechanical it's not too bad, but, the roof materials are a lot. But they should go on quickly, so that shouldn't be a problem.
That's the only thing I see with lighting.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, the only thing I know being used right now is the weight room.
We told K&A that the weight room would be used, and they know that during the week, that's gonna occur, and I think Giles High School has made some arrangements.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, anyone that has a key to the weight room would also have a key to the gates, and they can let themselves in now.
Okay.
Again, if that's not the case, though, I think everybody in Giles County has my telephone number now.
Right.
Somebody call me, I'll go let them in.
For better or worse.
No, that's the only way to work, you know, that's how it works.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
That road, closing that road, all right, that's a state road. From Giles High School, the whole road's a state road.
I don't know where that.
Sure is.
Do you mean the driveway in front of the high
Coming
school?
in front of the high school and going back out, it's a state road.
Hmm.
So closing it, I don't know. What about
We've
people?
got gates there.
They put them up, they pulled a lot of them up, but then they actually found it out that they didn't do it, couldn't do it.
Well,
Can't block state road.
it's be temporary just for.
Yeah, I understand
Keep
that,
people
I understand.
out.
I just don't want, like Mr. Buckman, a lot of people, tennis courts.
The other concern there would be there's enough construction activity taking place. I don't know if it's necessarily a safe situation, but it will be in there.
Yeah, for sure.
With low lifts and I mean, it looks like an army out there.
Well, yeah, just the amount of workers, like when I took my kid out to the weight room Monday, people everywhere, yeah.
They should
You
be
could block in gate, I mean, I can see blocking in gates like there as far as the one coming around in front of the high school with parking lot. I don't know.
I say we do it until somebody complains.
Do we gotta keep it limited, you know, like I said, that's, we,
Just make it, and emergency people's got, will have keys to it, I guess, like,
They should, I'll double check that, that was a lot of that, I'll double check that for sure.
something happens, so we get into it. It take a delay getting gate open.
Right. Good point. To my knowledge, the sheriff's department has keys to, master keys to our buildings. I'll double check that. Yeah, Grand Master definitely.
I just hate, I mean, I understand what you're trying to do, what I want it, but I just, you start locking gates up and then you get the key locked. Ain't good.
I'm sorry, Mr. McDade.
I'm saying, I understand they want to lock them up while they're doing construction, they just don't want to turn in to leave and start locking them up all the time.
Gotcha. Well, and certainly I think it's limited to construction, we can have that discussion further. But I just, the safety concerns is what,
I understand.
and again, the amount of money we've got sitting in the
Yes.
parking lots. Yeah, that's another thing, so the first draw, you weren't there for the job yesterday, I think you might have stepped out. They communicated that the first draw will be in the next, somewhere around 3.2 million, which is obviously, their estimate was 1.9, and that's for materials received. So I talked to ZMN about making sure that they had the appropriate bond on their storage area, and verifying what's on site before we pay that. But that's, that's a lot of front load on the project. And just want to make you aware of that too.
I think that, and a lot of things I brought up, I think the county's, you know, is established, at least establishing, if not already establishing, our financing with NBB, line of credit to be able to cover. I mean, originally we thought we would be able to not have to have interim financing, but they've got that covered, so.
Yeah, I tried to qualify that. I made that statement somewhere the other day about needing a draw schedule, because we need to know how we want to cover the bills, and they looked at me funny, and I need to go back and better explain it was a revenue issue. The taxes weren't gonna start coming in until the end of June, and, we had a shortfall middle of the month, we had to figure out how to cover, so I believe Mr. McCartney secured that. We'll be fine.
It's the timing with the SCAP reimbursement comes at the end of the quarter.
Yeah.
Instead of it's.
On just tax revenues too.
Yeah.
It's out the first month, and, should see most of those by the end of June, but that's, and we should be fine.
The last day.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, but just don't want to put yourself in that spot. You guys have questions, feel free to call me anytime, let me know concerns or whatever.
Thank you, John.
Yeah,
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Something that I got yesterday afternoon, and I wanted to, it didn't add to the agenda, but I'm gonna cover it, is the cafeteria update. What you have there is you have you'll receive the cafeteria tracker, which is the Excel document, and then you got the May fiscal year cafeteria overview, which is the green page document. You'll see that the cafeteria accounts tracking document, you'll see that it shows an increase of just over $36,300, close to $36,400. That is May expenses with April reimbursement. Again, we had a good snack reimbursement this month. We got the breakfast incentive amount of $3,483. And just keep in mind, all summer food reimbursement invoices is going to run through Nares Elementary this summer. So we've already paid out about $7,700 in invoices for the month of May for summer food, and that's calculated into the expenses for this month. So that gives you an idea of where we are. And you can kind of see on the other document that David put together, the revenue versus costs. Look at the May reimbursement compared to the May cost. You got a surplus of about $37,981. You got 21 serving days, so you see a general ledger gain of about $36,400.
Lacey's balance is, beginning balance is like way different than everybody else's, isn't it?
Didn't we replace some equipment there? I thought there was a large piece of equipment that we purchased.
We've got, equipment being replaced during the renovation,
I thought there was something, I
cooler and,
thought there was something last
it may have been some
year
last
or
year.
two.
Off the top of my head, I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, that's fine, I was just observation.
But I wanted to make sure you had that, and as soon as, get to the end of the month, get through the end of the month, they'll be able to provide you at the end of the month information as well too. Something positive to see there. Budget, just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. This has been updated following the May 15th board meeting and what you shared me and directed me to do in the budget. You have the operating budget and summary, you see the dollar amount request on the third page of that. For new money from the county, it should be that 280 that we talked about, 288.97 is what we talked about. You'll also notice on there on the second page, we talked about showing and increasing, showing where the SCAP money and the literary fund money is, so you see it there under the flow through for the state, about $13 million for SCAP, and about $25 million for literary fund for that we anticipate for the year. So we included that in there to make sure it was covered and shown in the budget. You also will see the proposed salary scales. That's what the rest of that document is. That's the proposed salary scales, just to remind you what those are. Teacher assistants.
I've got a conflict of interest for the discussion of the teacher salary scales, but it is one that I can fairly fully discuss based on the fact that it affects more than 3 people. Miss
Same thing, sorry.
Ms. Glenn has the same.
Teacher assistants, you see again what we talked about, been talking about. This year, the starting pay was $16,875 for 6-hour position. Proposed next year going to $18,600. Bus drivers is currently $16,470. Proposed going to $16,712 next year. Secretaries proposed, this year is $23,135 at the schools starting. Proposed moving that to next year to $27,220. Again, that's a 10-month position, so you gotta go to 11 months, divide by 11, divide by 10, multiply by 11, etc. Bookkeeper, hiring bookkeeper currently this year was $23,905. Bookkeeper at school, proposed moving that to $28,220. You see the nurses' salary scales, currently LPNs start out $29,800 and RNs $34,495. Proposed next year LPNs $32,040 and RNs $34,935. And then teachers, starting this year, bachelor's is $49,155 and the bachelor's next year is $50,055.
Mr. Williams, I think, you want to bring up the ag?
Yeah, I had a request if we would add looking back at ag programs. We're not putting about $600 per teacher at ag programs. Wow. Actually, I got the numbers on the tech center. We got 166 students at the tech center. We put about 45,000 in those programs. That's about $271 per student. In the ag, we're putting $12,000 in the ag lab every year, and we're putting $600 per class. So bottom line, we're putting $13.80 in the ag program. That's about $69 a student. And I was hoping, I was able to ask if the board would consider increasing the ag lab and the supplementary, try to do a little better.
We do have, based on that number we're asking, we do have a little room in the budget. What are you proposing, Mr. Williams?
Well, I was gonna tell you the whole story. We've been trying to, and I think everything's been worked out, just waiting on Todd Robinson to sign it and send it back. We've been trying to lease 8 acres of land over side to, where we expanded our cattle operation. Anyway, it's 8 acres there, 8.5, but the town has approved it, Power Service approved it, IDA's approved it. Todd's looked at it, Todd's buying the property, he's looked at it, no problem with it, he supports it. The only thing he asked was the town put everyone board fence put back up. And he wanted us to paint the fence. Paint the fence and keep the place cleaned up. He didn't have a problem, using it free. And then he says he hopes, after he does his development plans, he hopes, he's not planning on building anything there at all on that property, but above where he is, he says he hopes later on, he'd like to donate it to the school system, that particular piece of land. It's gonna cost us about 15, if we do it ourselves, the materials are about 15,000 to build the board fence and paint it. And I think, the ag lab had one CD, $10,000, and we got, I think about 20-some thousand in the savings account. So
I think from that point, we've got that, some of the carryover funds we're doing for capital projects, especially something like that, at least I feel like we could do that. That number doesn't give me heartburn, especially for expanding on ag lab, and it could be our land one day. I guess the number you showed me is that each of the, we get $600 supplement, or not supplement, but funding to the ag per teacher. So basically, like we give the tech center a program, a few thousand per year, is that, one?
We give FTE money to the tech center and all the schools, and they determine how they, the school level determine how they spread that out. Now, the tech center requests when they, like if they had a program or if they know that the materials cost going up, they request an increase in that dollar amount that we do at the tech center.
So the number that has been given, are you I just want to get some clarification. Are you talking about a supplemental bucket of money that is given to those individual teachers to enhance their classroom experience?
Yeah, I think $12,000, something like that.
ag lab, we get 12,000 to ag lab.
Provide the ag lab, I think, we have that budgeted.
Right.
And what the ag teachers are asking for, I know Ms. Gwaltney had talked to us before, she gets $600 to her program it's from Narrows High School, but in the same, I think they each get $600 at jobs, but they're teaching welding and certain things that are high material costs. I mean, those type things that we should be, I think, if we're gonna treat it as a CTE class, especially one that's hands-on CTE class, we probably need to look at. Mr. Williams, I think, is trying to say we need to increase that
That's
funding
right, I hope we increase it.
on that.
There's a lot of things they could do more if they had the money, but they didn't get the money.
Is that the same amount that we give to building trades and?
What we're saying is treat that somewhat on more, I think Mr. Williams is trying to say, he's trying to get parity with building trades right now.
Right.
If you had,
The 166 students in the tech center are getting about $271 per each. You divide that 45,000 that they're all getting. Some of them gets more, ours than this, what they're getting. Mr. White getting.
so that,
They're not getting about the ag students, we're not spending about $69
so that's
per student.
That's what they get each year, each of the programs get.
Mm-hmm.
Nursing's a little different there.
Mm-hmm.
We're not spending about $69 per student on ag programs.
Did any of them give you a number of what they would want?
They're happy with any increase. There's more things they could do if they had a little more money.
Brave, don't we all?
I hope we could, if we could, you know, I think we, if everybody, which we got, everybody's got to sign off and come back to us to approve doing it, but I think if it all said and done, I just want to get in some money in the budget where we can, everything works out, we can start working on that fence this winter.
Well, and I think, I think we can do, I think that's one of the things that we would support out of carryover from, since
It's gonna be about 15, the material and the paint, we got 15 year in. We got some people, they volunteer to help work on the fence, but I'd like to see the kids work on stuff. I guess I'd ask if we put 15, at least 15 on the ag side for that fence.
Are you okay? I mean, I think what I'd like to do, because I think that's capital expense. So that wouldn't be an operational budget item. What we would do is if we'll, once we get the approvals, let's talk about, there are two separate things I think to talk about. Talk about operationally, some additional funding for that, the ag instructional materials. And then we're talking about the capital thing. So whichever one we want to address first, let's talk about the operational. Does anyone have a problem with increasing the operational funding for supplemental materials for the ag programs?
What does Kevin say? I mean, I know we're talking to, I've not talked to any of these teachers.
Kevin really don't have anything to do with it. He comes out of the high school, that's something we need to get into later, talk about. Kevin don't have anything to do with that, this money. It comes through the high schools, principals do.
Ag is kind of in some ways the classroom portion of it. It is under Kevin's sphere, but it's also under the building administration's sphere from the standpoint of that funding.
Yeah, here's my question. If we had an extra 15,000 to spend on something, I feel like there are.
Well, I'm not saying that. Let's talk about that. That's the second question.
Okay.
The first question is, would we be all right increasing the what is equivalent to the FTE money that goes to the tech center for those programs, increasing the ag FTE expenditure from.
What you're proposing, somebody proposing is increasing the amount of the FTE allocation that's going to the school and earmarking that increase to go to the ag programs at the high schools.
Correct.
And you just have to tell me how much, and we'll have to do that, if that's what you want to do.
I think if we're looking at it, if you're looking at it, the overall program and what it does, I think, I'm just looking at your numbers, Mr. Williams, if you put in 24, if they're getting 1,800, if you put in, or if they get 600, if you put in 2,400 for that would be an improvement, and at that point, they can assess it. It's not jumping up hugely, and I think they've done a great job managing that.
So you're thinking going from 600 a pot to 800 a shot?
I was saying 2,400 a shot.
Oh, 2,400 total, going from 600 to 20, because each one gets.
So it'd be $7,200 total.
That's.
Mr. Ball need to get 2,400 in each of the.
So we need to increase it by 1,800 a summer.
Yeah.
A program. So
That's what I would propose, not
I
open that
think the
discussion.
increase. Giles High School needs to be increased by 3,600 and theirs needs to be increased by 1,800.
Correct. And you're marking that because I don't think that's the other thing, that money's not earmarked.
That'd be a big help.
Does anybody have an objection to that or thoughts?
How many students are in that program?
over 200. All three high, all, there's jobs, but
How
over 200 students. Over 200 students. But Ms. Boyd said she averages about 75 to 80 an hour. in her programs.
Alright, so then that brings up, if I understand you correctly, Mr. Williams, you looked into getting the additional land outside the ag lab for expansion of it.
So we can, so we can keep, we can keep it up. We'll have enough land in the boat supply, always to meet the schools, we get there.
Alright, and just so we're clear, who owns that land now?
IDA, but you're selling it to Mr. Robertson.
Okay.
He's,
To who?
Todd Robertson. He's gonna do the housing development below there.
Yeah.
He's got the lot, put on top of the hill, he's gonna develop, don't know what he's gonna do yet, but he said he's got no plans at all to develop that around the hospital, doctor's office.
Okay, I guess if we, what we need, so everybody understands it, we'll need, obviously, we'd have to get proper agreements with Mr. Robertson, IDA, whatever that is.
Mr. Kidder supposedly, he's involved in that. He's already got an agreement to Mr. Robertson. He wanted to look at it, Mr. Robertson did.
Okay.
I ain't got it back yet, I don't think.
We'll look at it, and then if we got a full estimate of cost, but I think that's one of those items that would be properly in that carryover money that we've kind of set aside more for capital projects to take care of and discuss that as it goes forward. I mean, I think if.
Yeah, they've got to get all, the town and the county and our IDA and him's got to agree and sign off before, really before we go any further with it. Anyway, for us to look at it and prove it.
Okay, so I think at that point, we'll address that. I mean, I'm encouraged by it. Others probably gonna have questions, and
Right.
we'll get there. I just don't, that's one of those projects that we've throughout this, where we're going now with that carryover money, we've tried to cover those out of that rather than an operational budget item. If that's are you
Sure,
are you-
yeah, as long as, just let us see it happen, I think it'd be a good thing. We like, we'll get opportunity in land around the high school or for expansion in the future.
Well,
Just ain't there.
well,
Next time it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah,
Does that 8 acres join up ours, what they have now?
Yeah.
I think that's what we'll explore a little bit more with it and talk more about. Is everybody comfortable addressing that and addressing what the kind of carryover funding we've got?
I'm gonna probably have a whole host of questions about that.
We'll take care of those. That's the way you should.
That's right. Yeah. What it's all about.
We're talking about a lease of the land or a gift of the land?
A lease right now, but he's hoping later on, he
And
don't
no
want.
cost lease, I think is what it was.
Right.
It's usage of the land.
Free, no charge.
Fair enough. All right. Any other items, anybody, we've looked at the budget, there's increases that we talked about, especially with the secretary bookkeepers are included in there. Other items, I do think we're, what I'd like to do is us approve this. I don't think we officially approved it.
No, you're not.
Is there anything else that needs to be discussed, like,
Yeah, there's gonna be some stuff we probably need to finalize in closed session.
And I had one of Mr. Bucket, I asked you the other day, told you that last board. Kind of, we talked about it, year ago, now that traffic situation in Eastern, building up, I was last board. Y'all consider putting in the budget to purchase that property for that building you road it through there, get out of there. They've looked at, everybody's looked at it, nobody's come up with any better plan than they've been doing that road to help relieve the situation.
I think where that stands is we need to get, whoever's gonna approach them about the final price. I think that's, we discussed it, I think there was
some consensus that if it's the right price, which what was
I
discussed.
think she wants 75 for it.
Well,
That's what I understand.
I think we've got to have a hard number in hand, and then we would prove it. And again, that would be, we were talking about that coming out of that same capital improvement fund. So I think the thing would be is that I thought that was the case, that we're already told Mr. McClarney to go ahead and see what it, get a firm number. I know we've heard that number, but when it comes down to that, so I think that's somebody I've talked to Mr. McClarney about that, because I don't think we can fully, we can, yeah.
I don't want more detail with that. I think the original, from the start there, she showed up. It ended up three-quarters of an acre there, it was 75,000.
I think that's what the communication will be.
They done a survey, a lot,
Yeah.
map.
I think
Who's negotiating that on our behalf?
it would actually, Mr. McClarney's the one that's got got the relationship with the family lady, yeah, and the IDA, they've been doing
The
that.
county's got an option on all of it, and it was, I think it's 100,000 acre. I think it was $200,000, a quarter acre was all we need for the road, quarter acre.
Well,
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
well, let's get the final, I mean, I think that's kind of where I thought it was being left the last time was.
I thought it was 3/4 of an acre.
Maybe this year I can't,
I don't have it in front of me.
anyway, she wants 75, that was what the last word.
I don't remember.
It's sketchy, I'm not been involved.
I don't remember. I thought it was closer to an acre, but I could be wrong.
I think it's 3/4.
Sheldon's bought 2 acres of it out there, you know, 100,000 acre for it.
Some of these is for profit company.
Great.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing, it's gotta be, if we've got that, and I thought that was kind of where we left it, was, let's see what we can get it for. So,
They talk about moving your branch up there to that location as opposed to the old bank. Last I was aware that was for sale. So they was trying to sell that.
Oh, we'll bring, we'll have to bring up the next sewer and water on. County's up with the sewer and water.
We'll go back, one thing I forgot, cafeteria, just to mention meal delivery for the summer. I forgot to mention that. They are going to package meals one day, deliver them the next day. They are going to deliver the meals on June 11th, 25th, July 9th, July 23rd, and August 6th. So they will be packaging meals the day prior. So that'll be June 10th, 24th, July 8th, July 22nd, and August 5th. All that's gonna be going out in Ayers Elementary. I think she's got 6 bus drivers and working on the routes. Hope to have the routes posted by this Friday or so. So
I think she had like 600 kids.
I would say last I heard was
Register?
585,
I think it's more.
595,
There's 6 months on that.
somewhere around there.
Yes.
700.
That's incredible.
So,
Really excited for that.
yeah, that's gonna be good. So, just wanted you to, I meant to share that with you. We communicated that with RL Price at Ayers Elementary, so that they know that, they're aware of it, they're gonna work around us those days, because there is some work that has to be done in the cafeteria and that sort of stuff, so they know it, the dates that we're gonna be.
Talk to,
Ms.
Chris
Lawson.
today about enforcing laws and stuff. It's gonna take a lot of people to do this.
And
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, and so you know, Christie is they're renting a cooler as well. It's gonna be placed outside between the ticket booth and that center block building, just because it needs storage. And need a place to put all this stuff that's gonna be delivered and coming in. Supposed to be delivered, so it should be coming in, tomorrow's Thursday, it should be coming tomorrow.
Good deal.
So, and they also, RL Price has been good and worked with us, this week. We have STEM camp there at Ayers Elementary going through the end of, I think, tomorrow.
It's 26, yeah.
Through Friday, so, they understand that as well. People know we're coming in that bottom exit, out the bottom exit, so we're kind of away from all the work that they're long term. So,
I don't know if anybody has heard anything about that camp, but I've got a kiddo in it. And he is having the time of his life. Got to build a robot coded to follow a path. As soon as I picked him up, I thought he'd be like, it was fine, why are you making me go to school in the summer? And he jumped in the car so excited, they're doing a really good job with it. I don't think there's a ton of kids, but he's very, very happy with the program.
it's a lot of neat stuff they can do, so
Yeah.
that's great. That's great. Summer school started on Monday.
Oh, is there, how many kids are down there?
10 from each school.
Could be on third.
What summer school was that? There's 190 total summer school kids. And then we have the summer reading program, that's what, they just came in to get their badges, this is one of the first.
Yeah, the summer reading program, the programming for that is so awesome.
Just leaving the two coach back here.
Yeah, but I mean, like having the kids do the activities and then actually go to places in the community, like, I don't know who all orchestrated putting that thing together, but what a super cool summer project for the kids.
Sorry, I don't want to go back to those days from cafeteria, I knew I meant to share that before.
Yes, we said,
So, the only thing on the budget, we won't change the bottom line, it was just move numbers
Yes.
around, won't change the bottom number from what you all
You said it was really
with the A.
guess we just need to get approved. We need those, this is, but we didn't know this is voting session. Okay, we're gonna have to come back next week.
And then maybe we'll have a better feeling this afternoon, after this afternoon meeting with the county, two board supervisors.
Can we just do a consensus?
No,
No.
there's several things that we needed to vote on today that we got to, we need to make sure we got approved. That's why. All right, anybody available like 10th, 11th? Sorry, that's what it is.
Supposed to be in DC, but 10th.
Can anybody, do you know how long it's gonna be?
About nine, probably 3rd. The only thing,
If do it, I mean, I've got a meeting at 10 for renovation, but that's all I'm.
we could do 9, we do earlier
Not here.
if we need to. I mean, I just won't come in and get, I mean, at 8 o'clock.
Doesn't matter, 8:30, no, it doesn't matter, as long as we're done by about 9:45. That's just-
8:30.
8, okay. I was gonna say that. So
What day was it?
I get a lot of
Monday.
kids up.
I understand.
Alright.
You don't have to, John, we'll talk about it going forward, but, yeah, that kind of stuff, yeah.
Yes, sir. Whatever you guys need.
I mean, I don't know if we're gonna need you from a.
I'll have a lesson to you, I think this is a good closed session.
I got a motion under Virginia Code 2.2-3711, A1 and 2,
to discuss, personnel and, student issues.
Make that motion.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Go back here.